Shot21 here. We are back on the Voron build. We are getting near the end, at least the end of the assembly phase. We'll still have to do some wiring and some software tweaking, but we'll get there. For today, we're going to start mounting the electronics. We'll get the power supply, the SSR, the buck converter, and the Raspberry Pi all mounted in. And maybe we'll start wiring it up here soon. But let's get into the final assembly of the electronics, or the final mounting for the electronics. Okay. So I'm using a 3D printed bottom plate. So I have heat set mounting holes for the power supply and the control board. So first step is to put the heat sinks in. Now, same steps as doing the rest of the heat certs. We'll get the iron fired up. I've got it set for about 450 degrees Fahrenheit. That seems to work well enough to get these heat certs properly installed. We are going to pull these back out when I do the refresh, but that's easy enough to do. So just light pressure. Got two heat certs for the power supply. So power supply goes here, and then we've got 5 for our control board, which is the Big Tree Tech SKR Mini E3. This is the version 1.2. The 2.0 is also an improved one for this. So those mount like that. We're going to mount them using M3x6s. If you are using the standoffs, use the standoffs. Now, one of the things that is going to change when I do the rebuild on this is I will be going for a serial request on this one. And when I rebuild it, I think I'm going to include the serial number on this top plate, or this bottom plate, along with the logo. Because someone has done a version of this. Actually, they've done this version where you do an inlay of the logo. So you start printing it in the accent color, with the logo color, and then finish printing it in the main color. So since I'm keeping this color scheme because I actually quite like it, that will be the plan. I don't like that screw because it's touching one of the legs on a transistor, so I'm not going to run that one. But that's fine. There are 4 screws on this piece, which is more than enough. So, 4 screws here, 1 screw here, 1 up here. These 2 nuts here are for the SSR, or no, the buck converter, which is a 24 volt to 5 volt converter. And I think we're going to mount that over here. So I've got the cords coming down, power comes in, yeah, that's going to go that's going to go over here. So that's our next mount. Which I think I can get away with these M3x6s again. Yep. So I'm going to mount that with M3x6s as well. Oh. Okay, so that mounts there. And then I need to find the SSR. Give me a moment. Okay, so we've got this little Crydom SSR, which is a solid state relay. And this is the ED24D3R, which is an interesting little device. But we're going to use this to control the bed. Excuse me. And use this guy to control the bed. The ones that are running parallel to the short axis get mounted at the bottom. The ones running parallel to the long axis are mounted at the top. And we mount this just with some VHB tape. So I've got some of this 3M VHB tape. I'm going to run the tape parallel with the long axis. Stick this back in the bag, otherwise you're going to get all sorts of stuff stuck on it. And then It mounts just sticky taped right to the side of the main power supply. Not that it actually needs any power from the main supply, but we will run a line from the line to a terminal, from the terminal to one of the bed wires, and then the other bed wire will tie right into the neutral. But we'll do that when it gets mounted. Now, we'll need to go to the back panel here. And I've got this Raspberry Pi, which I'm not sure I'm going to keep the this cooler on. I'd like to, but it has a tendency to fall off. But that will mount to this back panel here with a couple M3 by 10s. Now, this is going to mount the SD card towards the top of the printer, the USBs and Ethernets towards the bottom of the printer. So it mounts like this. I'd like to have cooling on these, but that one's not going to stick. I'll have to find something else. Now, that's how that mounts. The Pi is going to get powered off of that buck converter, and I'm going to use a set of DuPont connectors to tie into the GPIO on the Pi. I'm going to do that for a couple of reasons, mainly because I don't feel like taking apart and trying to mess with a USB Type-C to power it off of that, and I want to keep the space. I want to keep the space where the USB-C is, which is up here, free, because we still have the pocket watch to mount. And the pocket watch on the final version mounts, oh gee, right there, right next to the USB. On this one, we're going to mount it probably over here, or here-ish, more likely actually, because I ordered a couple of these, one for this printer, one for the 2.2, 2.4, and that mounts in this box. I need to do some trimming to get it to fit, but that's trimming of the box. Back of the box sits kind of about there. Front of the box sits here, using two of the screws that mount this panel. Top one mounts up there. This sits in there and feeds power down. So that's how that's going to mount. I need to trim some parts up, and I'm not going to mount this until I've got the back wired in. And it's actually quite nice because there's only 3 terminals on the back: the ground, a line, and the neutral. Or something of that nature. Maybe this one's the neutral and that one's the line. I'm not sure yet. I'll find out. But this is nice because it gives you a power switch right on the side. And this printed box is nice because it has the power pass through right there. So I will have to drill or cut out this back panel piece, probably here. And when I put things together for the second time, I'm printing a new one of these because this one was originally designed for a Raspberry Pi 3, where the USB is over here and the Ethernet is over here. So you could just plug in your pass-through cable, or your USB cable, here, and it will pass down through the cutout. I'm going to have to notch this whole thing out, which is fine and doable, so that I can run this down. Because that USB cable needs to come over here and be able to plug into the SKR Mini. And that's going to be a little bit of a tight fit as it stands. If I can notch this out, that'll work. So let me do that. Okay, so I've notched this out a little bit further. Notched it out. Also moved this Raspberry Pi up close to the top of the machine. I'm trying to keep some access around the USBs because one of these will eventually run up into the top hat, because I've started working on a mod for the top hat that will replace the front panel and let you put in one of the same displays that you use on the Voron 2.4. One of these FiSec Mini 12864s. So the mod will put the FiSec about here. That way you can still access everything you want, still see the controller. You'll have the front door, full top hat. I might even make up some mods so you can put some LEDs in the top hat and shoot those down so you can see what the print is looking like. But that is all of the electronics work, or the electronics mounting that we're going to do today. All right, thank you all for tuning in. Nice little short episode for the electronics mounting. We are getting really close to starting to see this thing push plastic. I've got the panel mounting to do after I do the wiring, and at that point, and some of the panel mounting is going to be temporary because I didn't print off all the clips, because there was just no way it was going to happen on the TiVo. I had enough trouble printing parts as it stood. So the first thing after we get this thing tested, and before I serial it, or when I serial it, will be printing parts for the remainder of the panel mounting. Once we get the panel mounting done, then it's going to be on to printing parts for the 2.4, because I'm printing every part that I can for a 2.4 on this once I get it tuned in. Doing that, I'll still be short some parts for the 2.4, but all of the main motion components for the 2.4 will be printed. Stuff like the skirts are too big to print on this. I can print the Z drives, I can print the tool head, I can print the AB drives. Everything that is required to get a 2.4 up and running can be printed on this, and that is one of the reasons I'm building this printer. The other is because I want a nice little one to sit on my desk so I can prototype without having to heat up the big one, or any of my big ones. Because when I get the 2.4 done, I'll have that in the Tarantula. Though I'm thinking I'm going to do a mod on the switch wire for the Tarantula, but we'll cross that bridge this winter, I think. Anyways, enough of my rambling. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching this series so far. I hope you guys are enjoying it. I hope you're finding it helpful, and if you guys have questions with the assembly of this thing, please let me know. Drop them down in the comments, and I will get back to you on them. We're going to do the wiring next time. That's going to probably be a long video. I'm just having to solder on the extensions, wire them out, check the power supply voltages. We're going to be dealing with mains electricity, so be careful with that. But I hope you're finding this useful and helpful. If you are, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon for notifications. That way you'll be notified when I continue to put these up and when I start on the 2.4 build, as well as any other projects and things that I get going on this channel. And as always, Sharps out.
Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. It really helps me out, and it lets you know when I put something new up. New videos will be going up on Tuesdays or Thursdays at 8 a.m. Eastern. And if I do decide to do live streams, I will try to give 24 hours notice. So hit the subscribe button on the channel, and you'll be notified when I post that stuff too. Hope to see you next time. Sharps out.